جلست جلست والخوف بعينيها تتأمل فنجان.
Memory plays tricks on you. You make things up unknowingly. As time passes, stories told in other people's memories seep into your own, blending in seamlessly, blurring the reality with the acquired. Most of us think we remember everything, or our memories are truly our own, as real as they were when they were first formed. But they are a faint recollection of the stories told and retold. That is what remains. Home is such a phenomenon, a collection of snippets, thoughts, feelings, that become more like myth, for better or worse. Not all thoughts of home are positive, yet when one is away from home, where he or she has been brought up, had the first links with tastes, smells, sounds and culture, home becomes, no matter how long it's been since that person has lived there, it always becomes home. So when people despair at immigrants who still refer to home as elsewhere, pause for a moment, think of someone from another city. A Glaswegian will not call Edinburgh home, a Dundonian will not call Leeds home, so a Palestinian will not call Scotland home. As a Jerusalemite, I call Ramallah home, though my family are through and through Jerusalemites. My personal memories are from Ramallah. That's where my heart and mind rests when I refer to home. Yet my family don't live there anymore. They live in Jerusalem. I only go to Ramallah to visit now. My heart soars and sinks when I enter Ramallah. For the immigrant, the non-native, being away from what is familiar, away from home, does not mean they do not find themselves unwelcomed, or that they have chosen this resettlement voluntarily. It is just not home. But it's not all the immigrant's fault. This person will never be allowed to be calling anywhere else home. This does not mean it is meant maliciously, or racist, or in a bigoted way, but an accent, a colour, a shape of eyes, or certain behaviours brings out the curiosity on the onlooker, and the question is brought up, where do you come from? Throwing that person into the only possible way of explaining that home is elsewhere. As for myself, I chose to be in the UK. I have chosen Edinburgh as my place to live and work, for now. I have lived in the UK for almost 19 years. I have lived here longer than where I still call home. So indulge me, if you will, for a little while, as I go on a small journey home to the essence of what is home to me. The memory, the nostalgia, the skipped heartbeat. This journey home is full of disappointment, as it is not what I would like to remember it as. As with us all, subsequent visits to a precious place is never the same. Things change slowly or radically, but never remain in the state that was embedded in the memory. It is always nostalgic to revisit and compare. This used to be here, or that used to be somewhere else. These thoughts become blended in, and you cannot quite remember it all. This journey is precisely that. A trip taken many years ago, just a few times, but now has become legend in my own memory, an epic. My journey buddies are Colossus and my own fond memories of what I deem as home. They are home for me. Without them, home is just a short collection of family connections and random bitter memories. Paul and Banan, Banan and Paul, soulmates from another time. We have been friends forever, yet forever was so short and infrequent. We seemed to come together through chance, through school, through estrangement, as we all left home at the same time, to study, and what it seems for a few years, to return roughly at the same time, through necessity or obligation. We found solace in each other, in our experience, in our common sense of belonging, and the lack of it, of nostalgia and a growing sense of disconnection with what we had left behind. We needed to believe that we could return home, and home would still embrace us, the wandering sheep. Some of us have returned and have adapted to the changes, and others, like myself, have drifted away in an ever-increasing gulf of disconnection, adrift in a sense, in a limbo-like land. Neither here nor there, yet connecting fiercely with one place, at a distance, and loosely and distractedly with another. Through circumstance and choice, it is I who has distanced myself, pushed myself away from it all. It's not that I do not miss home, that I do, but in a nostalgic, mythical kind of way. It's friends, family, food, the sense of identity without justification that I miss the most. It's being somebody's daughter, identifying with a family history, feeling the legitimate history of being confirmed every day. I am my father's daughter when I'm at home. It is both exhilarating and stifling. I have the weight of obligation, society, expectation on my shoulders, which is why I escape to my chosen world to be anonymous, far from where I'm expected to be somebody, to do something significant. But being somebody's daughter, somebody's niece, somebody's friend, is so warming that I indulge myself in it. I dip in for a little while, from time to time. Many would relish the position I find myself in, to feel comfortable in two different worlds. But home is hard, full of expected outcomes, expected achievement, of expected return. Being away for me makes me look at things both subjectively and objectively, with eyes steeped in reality and eyes longing for a mythical recent past. Going away from what is familiar always makes the return a little bit more bittersweet. The charms that once held dear or were taken for granted fade, and rapidly so. That elicits disappointments, sadness, and wonder at the unfamiliar familiarities of it all. The changes alienate further the links, and the links become more transparent, faded, less real, less in common with what once was the idea of home, once a definite place, now just a word to confirm identity to those who ask. But let me take you back to my journey. My memory of a journey taken seems so long ago. It could have been roughly midnight, could have been earlier, could have been later, but in my mind it is always 1 a.m. It's always early 90s, always summer, always banana at the wheel, and Paul in front in the passenger seat, and me in the back. Or was it the other way round? Sometimes Bob Marley, sometimes Abdul Halim on the tape player. But in reality, it's autumn. October 2007, 1 a.m, and my father is driving. Radio Palestine has signed off for the night with Molteni Molteni, and is playing Fairuz throughout the night, back to back, all familiar songs I can sing along to. But the soundtrack in my head will always be Abdul Halim Hafiz with Qari'at al-Finjan. One epic trip, Paul sang the song in its entirety, accompanying the tape playing in Benan's sister's car. I can't remember whether it was the Renault or the Peugeot, or were they white? I can't remember clearly. The song, the whole 57 minutes of it, with Hawaiian interludes in it and repetitions, hark back to a time before our time, but links us with the past of hope, nationalism, determinism, innocence, independence, pride, a time when parents had it all in abundance, including wars and refugees, uncertainty, occupation and struggle, and a wish and a hope for return. None of that hope has been achieved. The song Qari'at al-Finjan, The Coffee Cup Reader, a poem by Nizar Qabbani, sung by Abdul Halim Hafiz in the late 50s, belonged to that time, an innocent time, when there was still hope, where the possibilities were endless, before cynicism set in and dictated the political landscape and agenda. The 90s were of another time. We were uncertain of our position in history. We were young. We wished for the simple, mundane things to be the stuff of every day, not the unusual. So the trip from Ramallah, where Paul and Benan would pick me up, to Jerusalem, where we ended up, should have been and always should have remained the stuff of every day, But gradually, this has become an impossibility. The trip now can never be made. For one, Paul could not cross into Jerusalem and back for just the pleasure of it. The spontaneity of just jumping in the car, driving the 16 kilometres, could not be done for the pleasure of an evening. All we wanted was to get fresh kai, a kind of bread from the all-night bakery at the Musrara district of East Jerusalem. The bakery that has been baking bread and cake for 24 hours since the days of my father's youth. And some baked hamim eggs, some za'atar, and shemenet for Paul, and eat it all while still hot with the fabulous views of Jerusalem's old city from Jabal al-Tur or Mount of Olives. In my personal point of view, the best view in the world. Then either go for a beer or just having had one at the American colony before heading home to our respective beds. But everything has changed. It cannot be redone. There's a massive new reality on the ground, now called the separation wall. It separates communities, businesses, families, individuals. The journey now will have to be planned, permission sought if given at all. But we also have changed, each with our own concerns and our families to contend with and consider. Our time has become much more precious and divided. The simplicity of kayak on an evening, soaking up a view we all love, would now become an impossibility. We are now responsible adults, sensible, in an ever-changing, adult politically changed world. This is where I start living on nostalgia. The roads have stayed roughly the same, some more pitted, some resurfaced, but the route I take now with my father is very different. The route now takes an hour and a half, not the 20 minutes it used to take. The wall, the blockades, the checkpoints are alien, frustrating, exclusive. They exclude all that was good and all that was meant to be. I recognise the road, but the route is very unfamiliar. It's quieter, more morose than it used to be. The anticipation isn't there. The fun has been lost. As the logistical nightmare of getting to Ramallah from Jerusalem and vice versa takes over, and the fear and the trepidation replaces the enjoyment of a short journey. My memory of the route is now confused. New roads along the way have been built. New divisions have been placed. And we even have our own racist traffic lights that let through only 3 or 4 Arab cars at a time, while the Israeli ones stream past oblivious to the others, who are watching and waiting patiently for the lights to change. No man's land that once was during my father's day, or the Green Line, is now Route 1. The plain fields of Sheikh Jarrah, by St. John's Ophthalmic Hospital, are reduced to 1, to make way for Route 1, bypassing all the Arab areas, and new international hotels now crowd the once uniquely placed American Colony Hotel. The way into the Musrara is more complex, so that the population can be managed. The heady mess of what was the service taxi area is now a strange forlorn parking lot. The gardens by Damascus Gate or Bab al-Amoud have all but disappeared. Do Paul and Benan remember it differently? I wonder. Have I amalgamated years of slow change into this whirlwind? Or has it changed overnight? I wonder. We didn't always go to Jabal al-Tur.